Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the REW frequency response graphs for my current home theater setup. We're going to take a detailed look into those frequency response graphs for all 7 of the bed layer speakers and the subwoofer, of course, and we'll go over that information together, and then we can use that information to go ahead and apply EQ to my system using the Audyssey MultEQ editor app, which is available right now on iPhone for $20 at this time. I'm not sure if it's available for Android still. At the time of launch, it wasn't. If it is, then you'll see right here in text that it is or is not available. So this will be part 3 in the REW tutorial videos on my channel and how to use it to calibrate your system, whether it's a 2-channel music listening system or a Dolby Atmos home theater. Pretty much any speaker environment you can possibly think of, you can use this method to calibrate your speakers to get it to sound as good as it possibly can for your room. Before we do that though, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. I'm getting that push to my 5,000 subscribers and the giveaway. Please hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when the next video drops. All right, let's take a look at these graphs. Okay, so we're going to start by looking at the frequency response graph of the left speaker. For those of you not familiar with my channel, I have the KEF THX in-wall 3160RL loudspeakers. Everything in my system is KEF in-wall speakers, THX. So what we're looking at here is, I believe, 1/12 smoothing. Anything beyond that, it's pretty much useless. So don't do smoothing past, I'd say 12, 1/12, 1/12, 1/24, 1/48. When you do 1/48, this is what you're going to look like, and that's a little bit too much information, so that's why you apply smoothing. I usually like to go anywhere between 1/24 or 1/12. Once you get into 1/1 to 1/6, it's kind of just too flat to do anything with. So I feel like 1/24 is a little bit too much information, so we're going to settle at the sweet spot of 1/12 smoothing. So once you've taken your speaker measurements, make sure you apply the same smoothing to all your frequency response graphs. And then when you're breaking this down, don't view it so far out. You want to get a difference of about 5 dB, and you want to be able to see that up close. So just simply scroll in, and here I'm not concerned with anything below 80 hertz on these speakers, because even with the sweeps being full range sweeps, your subwoofer should be taking over anything below 80 hertz, which is what Dolby recommends, which is what THX recommends. So I'm not concerned with that. I'm looking at 80 and above. So I'm going to scroll over and just have it show me 80 and above. And we're going to zoom out just a little bit so we can see the entire range from what we're looking at, which is 80. Now, generally, you don't have to pay too close attention also to anything beyond 10,000 kilohertz or 10,000 hertz, because there's not a whole lot of information in that range. Most people's hearing tends to drop off around 16, 17,000 kilohertz. And of course, the older you get, the less you're able to hear those ultra high frequencies. I think last time I tested myself, my hearing response dropped off around 17,000 kilohertz. So I can't really hear anything above that. So I'm mostly looking at the 80 hertz to 10,000 kilohertz range. And right here we got, each big line right here represents 5 dB. So you can see we got 70 dB, 75, 80, 90, so on and so forth. So this speaker is doing some interesting things. I don't have my room perfectly dialed in. I know there's more things I can do, and I will definitely be playing with that. So maybe in the future I'll take more updates I'll take more measurements and do this whole process over again. And I'll do a shortened video showing you everything that has changed. Because I'm always trying to improve the sound in here. I'm always trying to understand room acoustics better. There's things that I'm definitely weak on when it comes to this. To give you a little bit of background here, my background is mostly in live sound. I've been doing that for coming up on 10 years. I officially started in 2016 doing live sound, and of course I had a little bit of a break during the pandemic because I had lost my job originally, my first live sound gig job, and then I got back into it in 2020, around 2022. So my main background is in live sound, but I've been into home theater and music pretty much since I was a child. And I really started getting my own little tiny, home theater in a box systems when I was around, 14 or 15 years old. And every year I'm just acquiring more knowledge. So I will never claim to be an absolute expert, at least not anytime soon. I'm always trying to learn and improve. So for the reason I'm saying all this is, well, I am not going to go into room decay / RT60 right now. I'm not going to go into the spectrograph because that is stuff that I'm very limited on. And I wish to gain more knowledge before I try to teach any of you this. I would be doing you a disservice. So we're just going to look at frequency response and then make the corrections based off of that. Cool thing is, I am going to be taking a class on SMART, which is just a slightly more advanced and maybe slightly more powerful version of REW. It's what is used in professional live sound venues. Not that you can't use REW, but most people tend to use SMART. When I'm taking that official training and get certified, I will definitely be asking questions about what makes SMART different than REW, and is there any inherent advantages or disadvantages to using one over the other. So that's going to be really cool because that's going to greatly improve my knowledge when it comes to using SMART or REW, and then using that information to improve speaker response and room response with those speakers. So I can't wait for that. Once I take that, I will give you guys probably an even more in-depth breakdown of using REW and what I learned, and then how I can apply that to improve my theater. So I'm rambling. Let's get on with it. So we've got a somewhat decently flat frequency response from about 1.2K to 10, with differences of mostly 3 dB, it looks like, because you're going from, say, with this peak right here, you're going from 75 to 77. So 2 or 3 dB. So that's actually pretty good. That's not bad. Some of the things that are a little bit more concerning are some of these peaks right here. Now, keep in mind, if you change your gain structure, you'll have to take measurements again, and it'll affect some of this, but you're just going to see it go from, say, this peak right here to right here when you change your gain structure. Maybe. I mean, that's a huge improvement. That would be 10 decibels. But things that are a little bit more concerning is the stuff that's happening between 80 to 500. That's generally within the range of the Schroeder frequency. I would suggest going and looking that up. I could do a whole video on the Schroeder frequency, and again, I'm trying to improve my knowledge, so I'm not going to I'm not going to give you that information right now when I barely have a small understanding of it. The stuff you have to concern yourself with generally is more so the stuff that happens between 80 to 500 hertz. This is looking good enough from about 1 kilohertz to 10 that I may not even do any EQ, because what you should be concerned about is dips of 6 to 10 decibels or more. That's where you should be like, okay, there's a huge problem with either my speaker, my room, or maybe the processing. So differences in these peaks of 2 to even 4 decibels is not a big deal. So what I'm more concerned about is, say, this dip right here in 600, and then you got another peak at 300. So I want to try to flatten this a little bit more. So that's probably what I'll end up doing in the editor app. Now let's take a look at the right speaker. Make sure we have the smoothing applied. And let's overlay that with the right speaker. And as you can see, you would hope that they would be mostly the same. And luckily enough, there are some small differences, of course. Let's go ahead and get into that same range of looking at 80 to 10K. The blue is the right and the yellow is the left. So you can tell there are some differences where one is dipping, the other is peaking. And then across some of the frequencies, it's the same. So I'll just do the opposite, where on this one I might cut 1 or 2 decibels or not, maybe not. That's not too much of a difference. I guess what's concerning again is this dip in the left speaker at 600. I can apply a boost to that, try to flatten that out a little. And then there's some things, that I may cut to get flat. So it's just a matter of cutting here, boosting there to get it flat. But again, also take this stuff with a grain of salt. You're not looking for dead flat, because then that would be boring. Speakers inherently are colored by nature, and that stuff is affected by how they're made, how they're designed, how big they are, the materials used, the driver size, the driver type. There's so much that comes into speaker design and how it's going to sound. And then, these engineers, they can color the sound, meaning giving it its distinctive sound signature. So like there's a difference why a $25,000 Bowers and Wilkins 800 sounds different from a $25,000 Wilson Audio Sasha or whatever is equivalent in the $25,000 price range. It's just they're two entirely different speakers using different materials. So each speaker has its own sound characteristics, and that's kind of why you buy speakers. Obviously, we all have different speakers and brands that we like, that we switch from. For me, primarily, I've always listened to KEF, at least for the past 10 years or longer. I've been using KEF speakers, maybe even 15 years now. And I've heard a lot, and I would love to go demo a bunch of other theaters and hear their speakers to see if I like anything better than KEF, because maybe one day I will. But right now, I absolutely love my setup. So, yeah, you're not trying to get dead flat response. You're just trying to get everything flat enough and within, 2 to 5 decibels in your peaks and valleys. Anything beyond that that's cause for concern. Again, a dip of 10 decibels or more is very concerning. That means something is really wrong. But this is perfectly normal to get a dip of only 5 decibels. That's something that can be fixed enough with EQ. So this is not looking too bad. Let's go ahead and take a look at the center speaker. And let's make sure that smoothing is applied. Yep, okay. Let's go to all of them, make sure Control-Shift-7 will automatically apply the, 1/12 smoothing. Okay, with subwoofers, you don't really have to do that too much. So let's go back to the overlay. Okay, so this is where we start to see some differences. The green represents my center speaker, which for all you, again, who are maybe new to the channel, all my front speakers, the LCRs, left, center, right, are the KEF 3160 THX in-wall. And then I have a different set of 4 KEF in-wall THX speakers for my surrounds. They are slightly, less inexpensive speaker. So you would expect to see these to be mostly the same. And around I would say around 216 kilohertz. Sorry, not 16. 1.6 to 10, they are mostly the same. There's some dips right here that we can boost. Same here at 2, another one at 1.5, another serious one at 470, which is probably a room mode. And then another big one at 150 and another big one at 343. So once I take this smart class, I'll probably end up taking measurements again and maybe messing with some acoustics, get some diffusion in here possibly, because right now my room is all absorption. I have 3 acoustic panels on each wall. And then parts of the ceiling are covered with a triple black velvet material. So I don't have so much for room diffusion. It's all absorption. So maybe I should get some diffusion in here. So this is concerning because it's a dip from the other speakers, 15. So that tells me it's probably a room mode. Room modes are standing waves. It's just how a certain frequency responds in a room, and that's based off its dimensions. So those are a little concerning. That's something you generally can't EQ your way out of. Yeah, you can apply a boost, but it'll only do so much. So we will go ahead and try to fix it as best as possible and see how that fixes the frequency response, because after you apply your EQ with whatever receiver software that you're using, you then take measurements again with that EQ applied and then compare them to before EQ and after EQ to see what it's doing, of course. So that'll be another video. That'll probably be a part 4 or part 5 in this whole series and tutorial. So that's something to be concerned about. Now we're going to look at the surrounds because they are a different speaker. So back left. Looking better, significantly flatter from 600 to 1K, some peaks here, and then flat again from 2 to 10. That's looking really good. Now there's some more peaks, and again, that's just, you got to remember that the room is also going to play with the sound and the frequency response. And of course, whether you have any type of diffusion and or absorption. So that's something to take into consideration. This is looking really good. Not going to have to do too much here. I might cut some of this down a little bit, but nothing significant that I'm really worried about. Maybe I'll boost here, but it's only a difference of 5 dB. So that's good. Let's compare the back right. And again, mostly the same, but again, there's a little bit more peaks, or sorry, dips. So this is something that might be playing into the room mode because it's around that 500. And then same with, this is concerning. This is a drop of 12 dB or so at 118 hertz. So that is more than likely not going to be helped too much by EQ. But again, we'll see what we can do. Now let's go to the surround left and surround right. Just bring them both up. Looking pretty good. Mostly they're matching. It's just a difference in response. If this surround right was boosted in terms of its overall gain, it might more closely resemble this graph. There's nothing terribly concerning. again, except for at this 118. So again, it's probably a room mode. It's matching pretty close through some of these frequencies right here. It's almost identical. It's just the gain is different. So that's probably something that needs to be fixed with trim, or the gain on my amplifier. Oops, I forgot to get rid of one of these measurements. We have a double and we have two of these surround rights. It's okay. All right. Let's compare it to all the surrounds. Now these are, looks like they got improperly labeled. I forgot to change the labeling on that. Something you can go and do though easily enough. My surrounds are not the CAF 3160s. They are the CAF QL 4000s, I think, or 4100s. I always forget. I'll put it up on the screen here, what they are. Okay, so mostly they're all similar enough. Again, we'll do some cutting and boosting to get them as flat as possible and as similar as possible to the others. Nothing terribly concerning except for maybe a room mode, because look, every single speaker around the 120-ish range is dipping, so that's probably a room mode. Same with the 500-ish to 600 range. And then across here from 1K to 10, it's mostly pretty flat. Dips and peaks of only a difference of 5 dB, so nothing terribly concerning. Overall, it's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. And we will look at the subwoofer, which of course is playing as far down as it can possibly go. And I just, for S's and G's, I wanted to see what would do beyond the crossover that I have set, which, as to be expected, it starts to dip. So let's zoom in a little bit more so we can see this clearer. Whoops. So as you can see, 10 hertz, we're getting 75 decibels, which is, I'd like to see that higher, but this is only a 12-inch REL, and it's a single one. I don't have two at the moment. I'm trying to get another one. We will see. And then we have some pretty good output starting around the 17 hertz. And then from 20 hertz all the way to 50, it's looking real good. It's 90 to 95 decibels. And then we start to get another dip. Now, some of this could be fixed by just me moving my subwoofer. However, this room is pretty small, much smaller than I'd like. So I can experiment with moving it, but with how small it is, I don't really have a whole lot of options. It's either left corner, right corner, pulling it out from the wall a little bit, but I don't want it in the middle of the room. So I'm really limited as to where I can put it. Of course, getting a second subwoofer, preferably the same types and size, would definitely fix a lot of these dips and peaks and would even it out a lot more and give you more SPL. So when I get another subwoofer, I will definitely do that and remeasure and re-EQ the subs. But for now, we've got a dip that I'm probably going to try to boost at 70, and that'll flatten this area out. This is probably helped by the room, so that's good. Nothing to worry about here. And I'll probably try to boost 10 to 15 to flatten that out a little bit and get more usable response. But again, only so much you can do from a single 12-inch REL. 15 or an 18 would be better, or 2 would be better, of course. So not too bad. Let's go ahead and get the Audyssey MultEQ editor app set up. Let's go ahead and take the measurements with it, follow the process, and then we will start using the editor app to adjust those target curves, upload that information, and then see what we get. Alright guys, so I feel like this is a good place to end the video. I want to keep these videos somewhat short, not make them too long, so that they are easily digestible and you can go from video to video depending on where you are in your calibration process for your own home theater. So in the next video, we'll be using the information we just went over with to go ahead and edit our target curves in the Audyssey MultEQ editor app. And we will then upload those changes, target curves, into my Marantz receiver. And then possibly in a separate video after that, we will be taking more measurements of the entire room and going over that to see what differences the editor app and the applied EQ made to the speakers. So be looking for at least another 2 videos in this entire series of using REW to calibrate and measure your home theater system. All right guys, so that just about wraps it up. So if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. If you like this content, please like it and share it with a friend and leave a comment. Until next time, thank you for watching. Happy listening.